Tactical Production Studio, welcome to Tactical Tuesday, streaming live on YouTube and simulcasting as always on GunChannels.com. To check out our entire lineup of videos, podcasts, and live shows, please visit our website, www.ghosttacticalproductions.com.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to Tactical Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, December 11th, 2018. We are live, as always, on YouTube and simulcasting, as always, over at GunChannels.com. If you guys haven't checked out GunChannels.com, then you are the last person in the world to do so. I'm going to put a link out there. Come check us out over there. It's a great pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment community started by G-Webs 5 years ago. It's a great place to come in and talk guns, talk Second Amendment, talk anything firearm related. It is for gun people, by gun people. So come over and check us all out. Speaking of gun channels, let's go ahead and say what up to everyone over there. G-Webs. G-Webs, the lonely roller over there. So he's also in here. So let's go ahead and do some quick shout outs on the YouTube side. If you are in the chat, please say something. We don't know if you're out there until you say something, and we will get you a shout out real quick. And I hate to say it, but there's a bunch of people that kind of jumped in the middle of it. So I'm going to do the shout outs in the beginning of it. We're over 30 people right now. I'm going to do the shout outs in the beginning. If I don't get a hold of you in the beginning, sorry about that, but the show must go on. So say hello. If you're new to the channel, new to the show, let us know that you're new and where you're from, and we will make sure that you get the proper time. So let's see who all is out there right now. We've got Two Live Moo, Black Cat Outdoors, Brenda Osborne. What's up, Brenda? Claves out there. Clayton Schlosser's out there. Clover Attack. David Bowling. Frank Hellman. Georgia Truckers out there. Gizzard Gary, the tactical chicken himself. Joe Ziola's out there. JB's out there. Keith. Kevin, the Crack Daddy, is out there. Kev, I sent you a link. If you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to. Mel the Nut. Mel. I love you, Mel. Mel's been with me from day one. Mr. Gone 454, how you doing? Patriot in the Dark, and we want to talk about Patriot real quick, and we'll talk about the blind challenge. Rob D's out there. Sandhill Shooter, Southpaw, Stealth Hunter, the Gun Snob, Trauma Jock, WB, you're next. How about that? Braden's trying to quirk me. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. MW Tacticals out there. I think I said Trauma Jock. I'm not sure if I didn't. I didn't mean to skip you. Leonidas of Spartans out there. Drucifer's out there. Mike Tango 6 is out there. Let's see here. Did I miss anybody? If I missed you, I apologize. I did not mean to. Guys, if you want to make a comment or ask a question during the show, please tag one of us in the chat that's on the panel. Tag us, or you can send an email to live@ghosttactical.us, or if you're cell phone savvy and you want to do a text, go ahead and send a text to us. I don't know if it's over here, over there, it's on somewhere. Send us a text to 530-36-GHOST, or it's 530-364-4678. We'll get you we'll get those questions answered really quick. Like I said, I apologize. Kinky's out there. What's up? Jay Monty's out there. He says, yo. So like I said, I apologize. Robert at Full 30. What's up, Robert at Full 30? How are you? So we're going to talk a little about a few different topics tonight. We're going to talk about HR 38 and National Reciprocity. And there's a lot of talk about, is it dead? Do we have a chance with it? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the carry mindset during the winter. And not just the mindset, but how you go about carrying. Because I think a lot of people, depending on the summertime or wintertime, they might change up their carry loadout, or their mindset might change during the wintertime. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because during the holiday season, you're going to be traveling. You're going to be shopping with a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that are trying to get over on the man and try to get, let's say, less expensive items or the 5-finger discount at stores that might be willing to do something crazy to support their family. Not saying that I blame all these people. It's almost, that sounds weird, but there are people out there that are willing to do pretty much anything to provide for their family. And for whatever reason, they feel sometimes that they've got to do something stupid, and we have to be obviously aware of what's going on out there. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to have a little fun and talk about Christmas wish lists. So that'll be kind of fun right there to discuss kind of what's on our wish list, or what we know people that are asking for a wish list that might be firearm or outdoors related. So we're going to talk about that stuff as well. Gizzard says I need a new patch on my tactical patch on my hat. Well, I was rocking Mike's patch right there, but you know how it is. That's a little goofy, but I'll keep it on for a minute. Just, show Mike some love real quick. Speaking of Mike, let's go through the panel real quick and say hello to the esteemed guest from South Carolina, but he is on location via satellite. Parts unknown. You got Mike from MW Tactical. What's up, Magic Mike?
Man, I had a great weekend, and now I'm in the backwoods somewhere in Alabama. I have nowhere where I'm at, but I just know my internet is flaky right now.
Well, if you jump in and out, we understand. I hope everything works out well for you in Alabama.
I don't know, man. I keep doing the internet dive, so I come and I go. So if I happen to leave, I will be back.
It is what it is. If you need to just jump on your phone, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Yeah.
And from Arizona, the Godfather himself, we've got G-Webs. What's going on?
Not too much. Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. Had a good discussion with G. I had to cut it off early. My wife had called, but he had a great little two-way workshop there earlier today. So go check that video out. From Washington State, we've got the crazy man himself. We got Yankee. What's going on, Yankee?
Oh, I was muted.
Oh.
Not much. If anything was going on, would I be here?
Well, that's absolutely true. You're right. You're right. We're going to break into a little bit of the Washington State stuff as well, since you're going to be probably more keen on the information that's going up there, because there's some scary stuff going on there that we hope may not spread to other states, but we're going to bring you in on some of that stuff as well. And you did a great video not too long ago on HR 38 as well, so we're going to bring you in on that. And from Texas, the tactical virus himself, the little leprechaun, Clover Tack. What's up?
I'm good. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to dive right on into National Reciprocity. And is it dead? How much time do we have? What's going to happen January 1st when the incoming new Congress kind of takes over and all of that? And I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts right off the bat of your thoughts on National Reciprocity, whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, because a lot of people do have differing thoughts within our own community. So we'll kind of start with Clover. Your initial thoughts on HR 38 or National Reciprocity?
Do we got to be specific to the bill that's...
No, just National Reciprocity in general. No, go for it.
The general idea done correctly, I think, good idea. Yeah.
Yankee, what about you? Are you for, against, indifferent to National Reciprocity?
I'm 100% for National Reciprocity because, people are far more dangerous behind the wheel of a car than they are concealed carrying a firearm. So if we can trust people to drive in every state, no matter where their driver's license is from, knowing how dangerous vehicles are, well, then why wouldn't we trust them to carry a gun concealed if they're, a responsible gun owner?
Yeah, and I think you brought up a point in your video that was talking about we have a driver's license that's recognized by every state in the union. What's the difference? So I thought that was a good point as well. G, what about you? National Reciprocity? What are your initial thoughts on it?
Well, we talked about it before in the past, but I'm against it in principle and willing to deal with it practically, because I think it's an effort needed for our community to work together. But generally, I don't like the idea of the federal government getting involved. I'd much rather see just the states all pass constitutional carries separately.
And I think there are a lot of people that actually go along with your kind of if you're thinking there. Is that because that you're more afraid of if the government legislates something that could take it away and then add something to take away on top of that as well? Is that one of your worries there?
I'm not afraid of anything, but when the government is given authority, it keeps that authority.
Right. see here. Mike, what are your initial thoughts on national reciprocity before we dive in on this?
I think it's something we need, but for a future conversation we're going to have, I can say that it could be more problems than it's really worth. Right. So it's just something we all have to come together as one to make sure it's kind of pushes forward. But once again, it's for a future conversation for another show.
Sure. So let's kind of start in on HR 38 now. So we're going to actually talk about the bill that passed in the House over a year ago and has been sit there and tabled in committee in the Senate. Will this ever see light? And if it does, is it too late at this point? Because session's getting ready to end. You've got January 1, you've got incoming congressmen, which means they'll probably have to go and get refiled. Will it probably pass in the House at that point? Probably not. So is there something we can do? And I want to let Yankee come and talk about this because your video was really good, but I want to let you talk about what do you think that we should do? Should we go ahead and try to force it down their throats right now at the last second? Or is it something that we can do other than that?
Well, I don't see why it would have to be forced down anybody's throat. Isn't the Senate supposedly Republican and supposedly pro Second Amendment?
That's
so.
True.
I mean, how is that forcing it down their throat? And as far as opposition to it from some people by saying if you give the government power, they take it away. Well, you're not giving the government the power to say you have a right to carry. You're making the federal government do what they're supposed to do, which is enforce the Constitution, which one of the parts of the Constitution is that states don't get to discriminate against other states. They don't get to deny you rights just because you're from another state. So if you've got a right to carry in your state, that should continue and carry with you everywhere you go in the United States. That's not giving the government more power. That's making them do something they're supposed to already be doing. Just like how they say, well, one state can't say you're not married in their state if you're married in another, or they can't say you can't drive in their state if you're licensed to drive in another. They can't say, hey, everyone who drives across the bridge into Oregon, we're going to charge you $5 because you just to get a temporary Oregon driver's license, because that would be unconstitutional. And the same thing with carry permits.
Yeah, it's a great point. And see, this is one of the things that a lot of people may or may not understand is this is not one of those, it's a national carry law. This is something that's saying that if you're licensed to carry in your state, instead of like Arkansas, we have a license to carry and we reciprocate with probably, I would say 37 or 38 states in the union. Now, instead of having to worry about when I go on a trip or something, am I able to carry in that state? Do they recognize my license? All this was saying is if you're licensed to carry, then those other states have to recognize your license. Now, once you're in that state, you have to abide by the state laws as to which you're in. And there's some crazy laws out there, some states, but at least you wouldn't have to worry about my license not being recognized in the other states. I'm going to bring in G real quick and let you kind of counterpoint what Yankee just said. And it's not necessarily to say he's wrong or you're right or you're wrong or he's right. But as far as the argument of whether national reciprocity is right for our community, I think that there are some different opinions out there. And I know you already expressed that you don't want to give the power to the government, but if the states aren't obviously willing to do that and the states aren't are not going to do constitutional carry, here's a question for you. If national reciprocity is not the answer, what do you suppose that we do?
So thanks for giving it one question.
Yes, I'm a master asking 11 questions at once. Yes.
No, you got it down to one. I appreciate that. So first off, Yankee's wrong. So let's all agree on that.
Sure.
So then secondly, I don't have a problem with the goal, with the end result that we have constitutional carry in every state. I would just rather see effort done to change the mind of the states. I don't like the idea of a nationally, federally, like organized thing shoved down people's throats. That way people in a specific state, whatever, pick a state, California, the Northwest, like New England, I don't know, the South, like people feel like they're getting their stuff smashed on them. I think that we are on the right side of this whole debate, this whole discussion. And if we can bring a conversation and a conversation basically to each person with their own region or their own state, situations, then we get the same thing accomplished, but without having the big state be the one to have to coordinate it or to have to put any effort into it. So, I mean, I don't know. It's in the Constitution. The fourth thing of the Constitution says the states, it defines how the states interact with each other.
Right.
So I just don't know if we need, a national push at that. I like the idea of individual states doing their thing. And if one state wants to have constitutional carry like Vermont and another state wants to do it like Montana, shouldn't we have that flavor and that nuance? Isn't that what makes us better than having one thing that everyone, one size has to fit all and everybody has to deal with it?
Yeah, and I don't argue that argument right there. I think that that's a very valid argument. For me, it's one of those that I have to look at it and say, in the state of Arkansas, constitutional carry went away a long time ago. And you can call it a tax on our freedoms. It is what it is. I'm still going to pay my permit fees because I'm not going to go without carrying. Now, there's some legislation that has been passed and a court ruling that has been passed that says that the permit violates the state constitution, and the state Supreme Court has ruled that you can carry without permit. So there's a lot of excitement going on with Arkansas because in a back way, maybe there's constitutional carry now. We're still not sure, and we're having to interpret all this. The governor's supposed to make another decision on here pretty soon. Luckily, he's very pro-gun. That being said, is this, and I'll bring Clover in here. Clover, to you, in a state that has open carry, but you have to have a permit to conceal carry, do you see more people kind of going towards a trend of open carrying just so they don't have to pay the fee? I know it's a nominal fee in Texas, but the fee to have a permit to carry.
We don't have constitutional carry.
No, you have open carry.
Yeah, but you have it's the same license.
Okay, so you can't open carry without a permit?
Correct.
Really?
Handguns, correct.
Really?
The fight for open carry in Texas wasn't like we want to be able to open carry without a permit. They just wanted to be able to open carry, period.
Texas,
I just thought they were open carry, just open carry. So
no, their compromise was you can open carry when you have a CCW.
Let me explain Texas. Texas has been incrementally taking back everything instead of going for that, 40-yard pass, first, second, third down, punt. It's been ground game for many, many years. And they do that by introducing a slew of pro-gun legislation. And it's moving toward to a point now here in Texas, unless we start seeing it, shift back blue, which is definitely a possibility. You got to look at the political landscape, the larger cities, that sort of stuff. But we've gained a lot of ground, and it will soon come to a point that, as far as the state making money off of it, they're simply not making money off of it. It's more of a hassle to deal with than it is than to not. So it's not like a money making thing for them. And I think that's been part of that ground game over the years, and the push, instead of shooting for constitutional carry, it's like, hey, let's shoot to tie open carry to the concealed carry. Just make it a license to carry. You can carry however the heck you want to, and then they did that, and then they lowered the fees, and then they lowered the requirements for training, and they made everything very easy to obtain if you are, of course, not a felon. And so what's the next step once they get done with that ground game? The only thing left is going to be constitutional carry. And at that point, you've got years of data that, look, we've loosened these restrictions over and over and over and over again. Crime stats hadn't changed. In fact, they went down. What's your gripe? So I think Texas, in a legislative sense, has been doing it correctly over the last few years.
Yeah. We got a question out there with Warsaw. And I want to preface this by saying, I love you, Warsaw. I love you. I think your heart's in the right place. But his question is this: if things keep getting bad with these red flag laws and serious infringements, can you see a possibility if we will go to war with our country like a revolutionary civil war started? Well, the Revolutionary War and a Civil War were different wars. I'm hoping that your high school taught you the difference. They were different wars. I would say that the chances of us revolting against our government because of red flag laws, probably not going to happen. I hear people throwing the term Civil War, let's rise up and stop the tyrannical government. That's why we have the Second Amendment, is to to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government, and they're being tyrannical against us because they're infringing upon our Second Amendment rights. Good luck. Good luck.
I want to.
They have a thing called the Air Force, and as many guns as we might have, the Air Force is going to win every time. Now, that being said, I'm going to pass this to the room. I don't think being foreign military, and there's a lot of people in this room that are military right now, we are not ordered to follow any and all orders. We have to follow orders that are lawful. I still do not think that any military personnel would take up arms against their own people. Not talking about a civil war. We're talking about the government infringing and we riot and they come after us. I don't think it's going to happen, but I still think that we have to stay under the assumption that they're going, if they ever got to that point, they would use the Air Force, bro. Love you. Air Force wins. Guaranteed it. Clover, what are you going to say?
A couple of things.
Yeah, go for it.
There's some talk about civil disobedience, and we got to be.
That's a whole different issue.
Well, if you do things that you're going to get tagged with a felony or something for, they win right off the bat.
So, yeah, because now you can't carry a gun.
Why would you go down
own a gun?
That's rolling. That's just rolling over.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I want to put a challenge out there. Live at clovertech.com. You got my emails out there everywhere. Phone number if you'd rather have a telephone conversation. But anybody that wants to holler, I hate people using red flag law because they use that to describe anything and everything, and it ticks me off. The other thing that ticks me off is a lot of people want to harp about red flag laws and they haven't read a single word in the 200-page bill or whatever it is. And I have on many of them. And it's not as bad as what a lot of these drum tappers or whatever you want to call them out there are doing in order to rile people up. So there's in a lot of these, I see the due process and everything. They go into subpoena and phone records. I talked about this over and over and over again. So, I want to issue a challenge. If you want to harp on red flag laws, if you've got a specific one that you're talking about, get with me. Let's read it. Let's go over it. I'll try to tell you what it means in layman's terms, and let's go from there and see if it's really as bad. I'm not saying that some states don't have the political clout with liberals or Democrats or whatever it might be to pull off some crazy stuff. I'm sure there are states that have that, but a lot of the stuff I've seen harped on, it's not as bad as it looks.
Right.
Can I address a couple of things here?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
One, I'll answer your question about whether we see more people going towards open carry since open carry is free. Because in my state, open carry is free.
Okay.
You can carry open with no permit. You have to have a permit to conceal. But yet still, even though we have to pay to conceal and it's free to open carry, I see almost no open carry. Very seldomly. But I know a lot of people who carry and they almost all get a permit simply because they believe it's more tactically sound to conceal carry. In fact, the only people I've ever been with it, like open carry in the state, I do it occasionally, but like when Haas comes up from Southern Oregon, he doesn't have a permit in Washington, so he'll have to open carry his gun while he's up here, like we go to lunch or something. But that answer to that question, don't see a lot of people going to open carry because of the cost. But here, a permit's only $65, and that's just all you do. You don't take.
How long is that permit good for? Is it just 1 year, or is it multiple years?
2 years, or maybe 4 years. I'm not sure.
Okay, so.
But another thing, I want to point out that, even though G-Webs was totally wrong, I actually agree with him on one thing. It would be great that if all the states just miraculously said, the Constitution guarantees open carry, and we're not going to stand in the way because they have no right to stand in the way of a constitutional right. But I don't see that happening. Therefore, the next best thing would be the Supreme Court taking it up and saying, yeah, carry of one type or another is a constitutional right, and it cannot be denied by any state. But I don't see the Supreme Court taking that up anytime really soon. But even if we at least got the federal government to say the Second Amendment is not a state issue, it is not something the state gets to decide. It is a federal constitutional issue. Therefore, states have no say in it, and you cannot discriminate from one state to the next. And then even after they said that, they could still eventually have the Supreme Court say, well, it's just constitutional carry everywhere because that's what the Constitution says. So I wanted to address that. Because it'd be nice if all states could agree to everything, but it would have been nice if all states could have agreed to desegregation, but they didn't. We had to send in the National Guard and make some states do the right thing. It might end up being the same thing with gun rights. And as far as the whole Civil War thing, I know people discount Civil War because they're like, oh, they have nuclear bombs or they have the Air Force. That's not how it's going to be fought.
No.
That's not how civil wars are fought usually. It's going to be all about resistance and public mindset. And if the resistance can hold out long enough to get the people on their side, then we would have a chance. And also a lot of people that were anti-gun, if they started seeing law enforcement gun down people in the streets just for having a gun and disagreeing with the government, I think more people would become pro-gun. And that's what the Civil War would be about. It wouldn't be about winning the war. It would be about making enough noise and lasting long enough to bring the public to our side. And because the government's not going to like drop bombs on our own land.
No.
This wouldn't work. And as far as the military doing it, no, it's not going to be the military that does it.
No.
I spoke to this with Mac in one of the chats not too long ago. He was in the military when this was going on, and I was one of the people actually involved in this survey. The survey was basically asking military officers and their troops, would you fire upon civilians if ordered to do so inside the United States? Well, the vast majority of soldiers either answered, I don't know, or no.
Right.
So they thought, that's not good. So then they went basically like 6 months later and asked the same question to law enforcement across the country. And the vast majority said yes. And that's when they began the militarization of local police departments, because they know if it ever comes to a time of civil unrest, the Army is going to mostly abandon its posts. And it's going to be up to local armies, little private armies in every city run by the local government and the federal government called police departments. And they will be the ones enforcing the law and fighting the Civil War. So it isn't that we have to be able to battle the military. You're going to have to be able to battle your local police departments more than anything else. So don't discount Civil War as being able to win a Civil War, because the United States has a great track record of overturning regimes by just arming a small number of dissidents in one country or another, and they end up getting public support and they win. So don't discount our abilities.
I wouldn't discount our abilities. I think that people have learned that civil war in itself is bad for the country. So I don't think it'll ever get to that point. I don't think that the government would allow, again, I say, would allow a civil war to happen. And I see what you're saying. It'd be more SWAT, National Guard versus the citizens, which we probably could win. We probably do win that fight. But I think that's also one of the reasons why the Second Amendment is such a beautiful thing, is we're the only country in the civilized world that guarantees us the right to defend ourselves from our own government. And that's a wonderful thing about the Second Amendment. Real quick, before I bring Mike in, I haven't forgotten about you, Magic Mike. But I want to bring Yankee went back in one more time. And we all know of the craziness that's going up of Washington State the last few months. And I think a lot of it starts in spring or July, goes into effect of next year. I think it's interesting is Clover hit on also, you guys have just some of the craziest gun control laws that have been passed in recent memory, but yet you have open carry without permit, and you got Texas down there that has to have a permit. So what is the dynamic of Washington? Because there seems to be some pro-gun stuff that have happened out there, and then all of a sudden they've got this flip side of gun control. Is it different regimes, or is it different times, or is that a basic how the state is split?
Basically the same thing a lot of states have. Oregon has the same problem. If you're from Oregon, there's a 50% chance you're from Portland, or a 50% chance you're from somewhere else. Half the state lives in the Portland area. Same thing with Washington. If you're from Washington, there's about a 50% chance you're from the King County, Seattle area, and 50% chance you're from somewhere else. So, and guns are very accepted in most of the state, but lately there's been a new regime, I guess, as you would say, of more leftist people. And because of that, they know they are guaranteed at least 50% because of Seattle. They're going to get 50% of the vote, or at least 40, because they're going to get most of them. And then all they have to do is wrap it in a pretty enough package that a certain percentage of the people that are pro-gun don't object to it. Like when they sold this 1639, it was all about safe schools. It told everyone it's all about safe schools without even explaining it to them. So, they fell for that. So that's what it's about. And I think this actually illustrates one of the biggest failings of the gun community in the last decades. And that is, instead of trying to be more inclusive and more inclusive and more inclusive, the gun community, partly encouraged by the NRA, has become more exclusive than ever before, because they started tying themselves not to just gun issues, but to abortion and to religion and to other issues. And telling people, like, if you're pro-gun, you should vote for this other guy who's all these other conservative issues, to where now gun rights in the minds of so many people are tied to right-wing Christians and, fundamentalists and conservatives and people who want to rape the environment. And guns are just right in that same bucket to a lot of people now. And that's partly our fault. When we run around and most everything that comes out of our mouths is libtard this or libtard that, well, you're not including anybody in the group here. You're not winning anybody over to your side.
Right.
And we've been doing that for decades, especially here in Washington, and now it's biting them in the ass.
Yeah. G, I know you had a couple things you wanted to bring up about the Air Force and some other stuff. Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say before, when you're talking about the Air Force, using the Air Force, it's nice that they drag us around every once in a while. They take our mail and stuff,
right.
But you take out one of them multi-million-dollar airplanes with a chicken in the duct. So
that's true.
They got to land somewhere.
Are you saying that you're going to sacrifice Gizzard Gary to take down a plane?
We just need to get the geese on our side. We need to get the geese on our side.
Yeah. We God, okay. Mike, I want to bring you in before this really goes off track here. For you in South Carolina, I know that you guys are a shall issue state, and you're surrounded up north by some areas, and you're from an area that may not be as gun friendly. When you're visiting places up north, maybe Washington D.C., Baltimore area, and Virginia, and all of that, when they know that you're a gun guy, do they happen, or if you're carrying up there, if you're allowed to carry, do you get treated any differently up there, or is it just, are they anti-gun in general, or are they just anti-gun when it comes to certain people? And you know what I'm talking about.
Far as the DC and Maryland area, I'm pretty sure that whole area is a no gun zone. So even when I go up there, I leave my handgun in the car or at the house. But far as Virginia goes, Virginia, I want to say they're an open carry state, and a lot of people don't realize it. I do know they recognize South Carolina with reciprocity, but at the same time, when I was up in Virginia, I was open carrying one time, and I did get strange looks, but I didn't fall for any of that and like look back and fear or anything like that. I just went about my business and went in the store, walked out. But outside of that, I put it like, if I have to get on a plane, I never carried a firearm with me on a plane. So every time I went up north, you know what I'm saying, I never had my firearm with me.
Right.
But when I actually drive places, of course I have my firearm with me then. But going to northern states, I've never really dealt with anything, because even if it's an open carry state, I don't believe in showing people I'm carrying a firearm.
Right. Yeah, you're more the concealed carry. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Right.
I have to ask real quick, where is Michael from?
Here in South Carolina.
Yeah, Columbia, South Carolina. Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing about South Carolina is...
you said north.
North, yeah.
She says that too, and she's from South Carolina. She's in South Carolina.
Right.
But South Carolina is a weird state because it seems to be very pro-gun, but yet they don't reciprocate, but maybe with 3 or 4 states. I mean, they don't reciprocate with anybody, which is really interesting. Why is that? Do you have any, have they ever said why they don't reciprocate with other states?
I want to say South Carolina reciprocates with 22 other states.
22? Well, they don't do it with me, and they don't do it with a lot of other people. I know a lot of people have to go get other states just to get into South Carolina.
I think it's they reciprocate with states that have a training requirement.
Correct. Now, for me to come to Arkansas and for me to conceal carry, I know I have to go to Arkansas and take your enhanced class to get the enhanced ID.
That's correct.
by me already having a South Carolina ID, I think it's what you said, like 10 or 15 extra bucks just to sit in for a 15-minute class or something like that.
Yeah, it's it's $15 when we pass the enhanced carry permit. It's $15 for life, and that's the most you'll ever pay for the enhanced. And what that does is that allows us to get on college campuses, inside restaurants and bars, in government buildings, being in the presence of government officials. We can conceal carry with those. But
yeah,
what's
so
that?
what would actually take place with me is if I come to South Carolina, the only way Arkansas is going to recognize me being a concealed carry in or from South Carolina, I have to just take that enhanced course.
Which is an 8-hour course. It sucks, but yeah. But it's interesting that there's different reasoning for that. I want to talk a little bit about it's come up before in the chat, and I've had someone text me earlier about the New Jersey laws, about the high capacity magazine ban, and you could be a felon basically overnight. It's a very interesting thing that they passed, that you can have nothing more than a 10-round magazine, and they will come and confiscate them. That being said, I read an article from I want to say maybe last week, that they passed this earlier in the year. They gave it 180 days for it to go, that you could either turn them in, make them to where they permanently will only carry 10 rounds, or give them to somebody that lives in a state that allows 10 round or more than 10 round high capacity magazines. 11. Woo, God bless. That
I
11
just want
round
to state
mag.
that I will be willing to help people out.
Yeah, so I was going to give you my address. So yeah, you can definitely send them to me.
Any Beretta magazines you have, Beretta, SIG, or 1911 magazines you have, send them on over.
Express mail, and then he'll cover the shipping on that. I think it's interesting because I read an article because they asked the head of the state police, and they asked the attorney general's office on how they would enforce this, and they had either no comment or we're still working on it. Well, it went valid as of yesterday. So is it interesting? Does that say that the attorney general and the head of the state police don't necessarily agree with this law, and they're going to say what they have to say publicly, but they have no idea, they have no reason to try to enforce this? Or are they just that unorganized to think that they don't have a way? I'll start with Clover. What do you think about the New Jersey laws on the high capacity mags? Have you read much about it?
I haven't followed much up on the New Jersey thing. Once states get to a certain point, it's I don't know. I don't keep up much after that. New Jersey's been that way for a while.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that they don't even want to discuss how they're going to confiscate that. G, do you think that this is something that they really don't know how they're going to confiscate it, or is this possibly one of those things where they don't support the bill or they don't support the law and they're really not going to try to enforce it?
Well, I definitely haven't been watching, so I don't know. All I can offer is speculation. I would just say if they were planning on, like you're thinking, hoping that if they're just not going to enforce it, then I would think they'd come out with some sort of a sanctuary thing. I just don't even know how many counties there are in New Jersey to do something like that.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? Have you been following anything about New Jersey down there? That you're kind of close. I mean, you're a few hours away, but it's close enough.
Not really following anything that's going up there. I do understand that they're having those issues, whereas they can't come to a compromise. And I know the people with Guns for Hire, they got a big campaign going on trying to combat it. But once you don't have the people behind you to effectively change the vote or sway a vote, it could get ugly for them up there as far as gun control and gun laws and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they're grandfathering anything either. So it's one of those things. Now, speaking of, G brought up sanctuary counties or sanctuary cities or whatever. And I know there have been some people up in Washington, Yankee, that have decided that they are going to not recognize 1639 or the new laws, and they're going to call themselves sanctuary counties or whatever. Has that gained traction? And then if so, how does that really work? Because I hear about sanctuary states or counties or cities or whatever. How does all that work exactly?
Well, I don't know if it actually gains any traction because it just means that that local sheriff isn't going to go out of his way to enforce those laws. Like my sheriff in my county is not going to enforce the laws, just like they didn't enforce the universal background checks.
Right.
There are several counties in this state that to this day don't enforce universal background checks. Like if I want to go down to the mercantile today and do a face-to-face sale with someone, even if someone said, hey, told our local sheriff they just did a face-to-face sale with no background check, he'd be like, sorry, I don't have the time or the means to enforce that law. So, and that's what most of them have said, it's time and means, so it's a waste of their time and a waste of their money. So, it just depends on where you live and how much you got to worry about things. But a lot of the aspects of 1639 are going to hurt you no matter where you are. It
Right.
doesn't matter if you are in Skamania County or if you're in King County. If the state has the right to access your medical records just because you've ever bought a gun, it ain't going to matter if you're in a sanctuary city or not. That's still going to happen.
Have there been has there been talks about petitioning the state Supreme Court to see if this law is even constitutional at all? I'm sure there has been, but has there been anything about that actually happening?
It's way up. It's got to work its way up the line because it's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit. And the people who write these bills, they don't write them to actually make a difference. They write them to bankrupt the pro-gun movement. So what they do is they write them, and this bill is like 7 different parts. And if you want to invalidate the entire bill, you have to sue 7 different times.
Right.
You can't invalidate the whole thing at one swath. That's the way it's written, that every part is a freestanding part and has to face legal challenge independently. So they basically just pass these things. Billionaires pay for them to pass, which is basically, this was paid for by 4 billionaire families.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to pay to fight each individual line of it, basically. So they just are there, and they know the NRA gives no money to help these things. The NRA gives you no financial help whatsoever. They come in, they put their names on lawsuits, and then they tell you to find a lawyer, basically, or they say, here's a lawyer that'll work cheap, or you can find one that'll work free. So they know it'll bankrupt the movement. So that's their whole goal, is to just wipe out pro-gun people by taking away all their money.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think that's where we don't want to see how hot dogs are made. We just want the hot dog, and when it starts getting into constitutionality of specific laws, whether it's gun environment or not, the whole process is pretty long, it's pretty nasty, and it's extremely expensive. Now, we all say that we've got billionaires that are pro-gun and millionaires, multi-millionaires that are pro-gun. Why aren't they helping out? And that's a good question. That's a good question. And we don't know that they're not. We don't know that they're not donating money to, the GOA or the SAF or, God forbid, the NRA. But we don't know that they're not. The problem is Bloomberg is doing it on the front page. He's trying to make sure his name is out there, getting the anti-gun movement going. And so he's being very vocal. What's that?
He's preparing his presidential run.
I think that you're right, and that's scary. I think that is a valid thing. That I think once he saw Trump got elected, he's like, really? Okay, we can do this. That's a very valid point, and that's a scary thought. As far as the bills and all of that, let's kind of wrap the national reciprocity side of this conversation up. I was for it, and I still am for it. I'm still for anything that is pro-gun. And I was very for it when it first came out, because I said, we have a chance. We always are fighting to defend ourselves against gun control. It never seems like we're trying to push the envelope and try to go get something that's positive for the gun community. And I thought that HR 38 and the Hearing Protection Act, these were 2 bills that could be positive for the gun community. And regardless if you agree that we should have it or not, my stance is anytime we have an opportunity to get something passed to law that actually benefits the gun community, no matter how small it may seem, I think that that's a positive thing, because it's like we're always fighting an uphill battle. And it would be nice to get some of these bills that seemingly are pro-gun to get passed, at least give us some momentum. Obviously, the Republicans have failed miserably for the last 2 years, when we've actually had everything line up the way we needed it to, and nothing has happened. If anything, they've allowed ATF regulations to kind of seemingly get pushed through. So the Republican Party, I think, has failed in the last 2 years as far as gun
can I
control.
contradict something you're saying there? I just
Yeah,
want
sure.
to
Yeah, go for
put
it.
a counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
The Republicans have not failed.
For
They did
gun
exactly
control?
what they wanted to do. They succeeded in their goal. Those bills and bills like that always get introduced right before election seasons are there for one reason only: to get far enough to keep people that are pro-gun from voting against anybody that's Republican, no matter how much they hate them. And then as soon as they win the election, the bills die in committee or die on the floor almost every time. That is the thing they've done a dozen times. It works every time, so they're not going to quit doing it. Until we quit saying, I'm not going to hold my nose and vote for the lesser of two evils anymore, because there is no lesser of two evils. I'm just going to vote third party. They're going to keep doing stuff like that. So they didn't fail. They did exactly what works for them.
Oh, and I see that point as well. But when I say they failed, I say that they had every opportunity to pass positive legislation, whether you think it's worth it or not. Any kind of positive legislation for the gun community, in my eye, is good, because, like I said, we've been fighting attack after attack after attack for years and years and years. And if you don't like national reciprocity, fine. The Hearing Protection Act, come on. We're talking suppressors here. We're talking NFA items that, we're talking some major stuff. Once again, gets tabled. And, it is what it is. I just wish they would have taken it seriously, because now in January, it's getting ready to get pretty hairy. And I know that Pelosi has publicly said that her agenda is going to be going after the guns. Now, she's probably said that about 17 different agendas, but one of them was going after guns. So if you think that we are going to get anything passed positively for the gun community in the next 2 years, good luck. Good luck, because it's getting ready to get pretty nasty, I think. So anybody have anything to bring up on different bills or the legislation before we move on to a different topic? Go for it, G.
So what Yankee was talking about earlier in Washington, they definitely want to put stuff in place that's difficult to untangle, right? But there's another motive to that, and that's to confuse, so that it looks like it's overwhelming and too difficult, and then they achieve the next goal, which is to discourage and create apathy. So they can continue to just put stuff up there that's tedious and difficult, and that has an ulterior thing. So we have to realize that they're doing that either intentionally or not, and put down double effort. There's things you do that are not comfortable or interesting or fun, or they're obligations to the greater picture. And one of them is to continue to be aware of these things and to fight. These things like HR 38, whether or not the reasons for them were perfect, and whether or not they're easy to obtain, and whether or not their adaption would be the best possible circumstance, what we are missing out on is an opportunity to work together every time one of these things goes up. And like Yankee says, they're going to continue to put them up knowing the consequence, knowing the results. So if we continue to just allow them to do that, we're playing the game. Whenever they're going to do that, though, we have the opportunity to require them to follow through, so that then they won't be as apt to put these things up kind of nonchalant, knowing that they're never going to follow through. If we require them to follow through, then they're going to know that that's something that they're going to need to follow up on, and that we're going to hold them accountable. And then on the other hand, on the other side of it, the Pelosi's and stuff, they see that when a bill like HR 38 goes up and gets shelved, they see when the Hearing Protection Act goes up and gets shelved, that sends out a big green light to them. They can go after guns because we're not organized and motivated to do anything about it. She knows that she can go after guns and get a bunch of credit for her side. All the motives or operations in place, like Yankee will say about the NRA, will engage, and they'll start to say, oh, look, they're going after our guns. If we don't want to see the same results as always, we have to make a dedicated effort to change the dynamic, right? So if they're going to bring that fight, then hold them responsible for not bringing 38 to the bill, to the floor. And even if it isn't a foregone conclusion that it's going to win, at what point do we say, you only play baseball if you're going to win? You only play a sport if you're going to win. Like, right. Where does that happen? You're only going to take a test if you're going to get 100? we have to do something to start working together and showing them that we are interested in working together. And what we'll see is less opposition, and we'll see stuff going in our direction.
Well, that's one of the things that killed the NRA when they started deciding they were only going to fight fights that were profitable. And when they stopped fighting fights that they didn't think they could win or they didn't think they'd make money off of, that's when they fell apart, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I've made it blatantly clear that I would probably be interested in going back and supporting the NRA if they ever decided to split with the ILA and have two separate entities. I love the fact that the education, the training, the child safety, all of that, the NRA stuff, that was great projects the NRA does. But I think that people say, I hate the NRA. Well, actually, you're hating basically the ILA. And I think if they ever decided to maybe split entities, I think it'd be great. But that'll never happen because most of the money they get are from the people that are just supporting the NRA blindly and not knowing really what's going on with the NRA. So it is what it is. Clover, I know that you had some topics over red flag laws and other stuff that you were talking about. So I want to bring you back in here.
Yeah, I had to find the mute.
No problem.
I was in the middle of a more of a theological, I guess, discussion out there. But
yeah, I saw that. Interesting.
Yeah, the gist of that is we just need to be better people, and I'm talking about all of us. But with that being said, no, what I was curious, we were kind of wrapping up HP 38 here, and one thing that I've noticed is, they introduced and slid in a bunch of stuff with funding NICS and changing the way that all that was dealt with and putting these requirements on local agencies and potentially states and all this other stuff. And I remember when that happened, and I remember there being uproar about it. Oh, I can't believe they're tying that to it. It's the poison pill and blah, 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 blah. And then as we come down the home stretch here, or whatever you want to call it, as the clock's running out, right? Then I've seen some of the same people that were harping because that stuff was introduced into the bill. Now we got to pass it. We got to pass it. We got to pass it. Well, make up your mind. Either you didn't like what was slid in, or you want the thing to pass regardless. And I can't say with being 100% positive, I can't say that some of that stuff with the NICS things and all doesn't turn me off of HP 38.
Well, they've already taken the fixed NICS, and that's already done. They took that out of HR 38 and slid that on the omnibus that was signed early in the year. So the fixed NICS is done. It's happening. They're going to fix freaking NICS, which is hilarious. But that was slid in under the omnibus because they knew that Trump was going to sign the omnibus, and that's just
but not all of it. Not all of it was there though. There's still
there's still parts. Yes, there's still parts.
HR 38.
Oh, yeah.
The funding portion was in the omnibus.
That's correct.
The revamp of the data collection and the mental health side of things and where all that comes into play is still in HR 38.
Well, I think that you're talking that side of stuff, the NICS and all that. You're talking HIPAA at that point. And that's going to be very, very volatile for people to decide if they want to touch HIPAA because
that's great. But if we ram it through and then somebody on the anti-gun side, Bloomberg, whoever, then uses that because that, again, you're talking about a poison pill, and they take it to the Supreme Court, and then they whitewash the entire thing. Then what was the point of trying to? You get what I'm saying?
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that.
It's like they're putting that in there because they're trying to make it fail.
Who, the Republicans?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay, yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Then they can say, "Oh, well, see, we passed it. See, we did what y'all hollered for us to do." And then later on, they know that the courts are going to shoot it down anyway.
So you're taking it to the if it passes, and then if it's taken to the interpreted that way, and then if it's able to be interpreted that way to a conclusion that would be bad. So that's three ifs. I'm going to suggest: do we not do something? Do we put no effort into it and shake our hand, dust our hands off to it? Because like three ifs away, it could have been bad. Like two ifs away, we would have been in a pretty good spot. We would have had national reciprocity, and we'd be living with national reciprocity. With one if away, we efforted towards bringing national reciprocity to the thing where we held them responsible for shelving it. And perhaps Pelosi says, I'm going to do a different political strategy next year because these gun owners are motivated. So I'm just saying, do we not effort at all because it might turn out bad, or do we effort because effort for the sake of effort is needed at this point? I mean, it would be great if we got something through on the first try, but I don't think that happens very often. I'd rather see us work together, effort towards something, shout really loud, like we've seen in recent history. In 2013, something was coming at us, and we all stood up and said, "Oh, no, it's not." And guess what? Political-wise, we didn't see very much anti-gun stuff for a while. We saw little slices here and there. They're going to keep testing it, but we didn't see anything major, even after some major horrible atrocities. So I'm thinking, you know, do we not effort at all just because it might get bad?
I guess what I'm getting at, G, is at what point, and like I said, I'm just saying I'm not sure about things, but my point is, if you're going to complain about certain aspects in a bill or whatever it might be before it gets down to the wire, and then because it's down to the wire, just simply, oh, well, you know, all we've got is this Hail Mary or whatever. Okay, screw it. We'll put up with all that. Then why was the effort not made in the first place to go, okay, we're gonna get behind this. Okay, we can deal with this, because let's look into the future. If this come down to the wire, we're gonna give all that up in concession anyway, just to get it rammed through. So why couldn't the same effort have been done months ago? It's because months ago people had problems with parts of it, and I don't understand the lack of consistency in thinking there.
Well, I don't think a lot of people would actually have as much problem with it as if they understood it, because when I have read it, I know, yeah, it's got a lot of the fix the Nick stuff in there, but most of it is, the vast majority of it just deals with reporting, meaning state agencies, the military, etc. They're going to be held accountable. If they don't report the stuff they're supposed to already report. And then there's some stuff about, you know, making sure criminal records are more reported. If someone has served more than a year of time, it has to be reported. Also creating a database about domestic violence. Someone that has been found guilty of domestic violence has to be reported. Here's the thing, though, unless that's a felony, they're not changing the requirements to buy a gun. So even if you get charged with and convicted on a misdemeanor assault and it gets reported, it still doesn't get you denied, because it's not a grounds for denial. So basically, most of what it does with the NIC system is just basically go to states. Like, remember the Air Force could have stopped that guy who just did the mass shooting, you know, 7 times. They had 7 opportunities where they should have reported him to NICS, that he was, you know, convicted, he was dishonorably discharged, etc. So, but they didn't. And that would put the onus on them for not reporting it. So therefore, they would be more accurate about their reporting. And most people I know are like, well, they should have reported him, or that police officer in, you know, what's his name, in Florida should have been a better sheriff and done something about that one student. Then they'd be held accountable if they didn't, because they're required by a certain time period to report all these things. So I have really very little problem with the fix the NICS things that are in the bill. Because if we're going to have NICS anyway, well, then why not make the people that are running it accountable for running it properly?
Guys, this is going to hurt. It's going to taste bad. It's going to taste bad. I agree with Yankee on that one. I agree with Yankee. That hurt. That hurt me saying that. No, I'm just kidding. We got it. Okay, so Warsaw Patriot. Once again, love your passion, brother. Love your passion. He says, all I'm saying is, why follow a law that's unconstitutional when you know it's a violation of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Because, young man, if you don't follow the law, you can no longer be a gun owner.
Well, and also, just because you believe it to be unconstitutional, if the courts don't hold that same opinion, and your neighbors don't hold that same opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean you're right. Constitutional law is not an easy topic, or else everybody'd be constitutional lawyers, and there's very few of them. So when you do something just because you think you're right, you don't usually win in that situation. You have to have everybody, the majority of people, thinking you're right, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I know Warsaw Patriot Act, WP stands for Warsaw Patriot Act, but I like to pretend it stands for White Power Warsaw Patriot Act, simply because I think it makes him more interesting. Because, you know, if you have a friend named like Gary and you tell someone a story about Gary, they're not going to listen. But if you say, hey, I've got a story about my friend White Power Gary, they're going to listen. You know, so I kind of like to, I'm going to put that WP in front of
Gary if it's about Gary the Glock, but we haven't seen Gary in a while, so that might need to happen.
He's in the truck. He's in the Jeep.
I know. All right. Anything else, Mike? You have anything that you want to bring in on the National Reciprocity or anything else, or do you want to move on to the next subject? It's up to you.
Well, put it simple. If you haven't registered to vote, go register to vote, and then get out there and exercise that right to vote.
It's as simple as that, people. If you don't vote, then don't complain. If you don't contact your representatives, don't complain. So there's that. We can always come back to that one a different time, but there is something I wanted to talk about. It's about carrying during the wintertime. I know it sounds simple. It sounds weird. Why what's the difference? There's a big difference to a lot of people depending on what part of the country you live, whether you carry during the winter. Me personally, in Arkansas, we have a cold winter. We don't usually get a lot of snow. We'll get like a foot of snow combined a year, but it does get down pretty cold. And Danny Watt, how you doing? I want to say hi to Zeke out there. And Robert at Full 30 said he had to go, but he wanted to give credit to G. He said he found this chat through your website. So he wants to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to you, apparently, because you're helping people find my channel. So thank you. But he said that we need to get together as a community. And that was a very true statement as well. We are not a unified front. We have multiple cliques, multiple fronts within our own community. And that's what really hurts also is when you're fighting a front that is completely against us, and yet we can't necessarily get along ourselves. We just kind of help them out a little bit. So enough about that. But carrying during the wintertime, I want to say that probably Yankee is in a place that has a coldest winter. Do you change your carry loadouts or your guns, or do you have a different mindset when there's snow on the ground and it's much colder than it is during the summertime?
Well, it's easier to carry a larger gun in the winter, especially because in the winter, I usually will wear a vest over a thermal or something. So it's much easier to carry. But I really don't. I haven't in the past much because, I've always carried a 357 Magnum, and I don't think, there's any conditions in the winter that make me need something more than my 686 plus or something. But now that I carry a 45, I carry a full size 45 in the summer. So I carry the same thing in the winter, although I am, old now and I can't shoot 357 quite so much, but I'm thinking about just going full retard on the old guy stuff and just getting myself a nice 45 ACP single action and carrying in the wintertime. Okay. Just so that I can be ready for the cougars and the bears up here.
And the Sasquatches?
No, you don't shoot Sasquatches. Sasquatches are friendly.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Clover, when you talk about wintertime carrying, do you carry the same gun, or do you change your rotation maybe during the wintertime because you are wearing sweatshirts or fleeces and all that? Or is it you carry the same gun year round?
I carry a flamethrower in the winter.
That's a hell of an idea. That's what I'm talking about. Instant bonfire.
You get cold, just fire it up. It's all good.
Yep.
Dude, I'm in Texas, so what's winter?
It does get kind of cold down there.
Yeah, it does, but
40.
Yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, I got the same rotation pretty much all the time. And with my thing too, I typically carry because we've got the open carry / concealed carry. It doesn't really matter. Right. I always carry outside waistband. So it's just a matter of usually if I'm wearing a tucked shirt or not that I'm going to open carry. So technically, I mean, I could carry anything at any time and be covered. And I do that occasionally. Occasionally I'll carry, just for show, sure. I'll carry something. I'll carry a big single action, or I'll carry a nice shiny 1911 or something like that occasionally.
Right. Mike, during the wintertime in South Carolina, does your mindset change? We're not talking maybe loadouts, but your mindset, when you're talking about wintertime carry or cold weather carrying, I know that you might be affected a little bit differently than some of us with cold weather. Explain to me what you say when you say your mindset might change.
Okay. So, back when I was a private, I became a cold weather injury when I was over in Korea. So, it gets really cold over there. So when I get in cold weather, it affects me totally different than it will for everybody else. So I can be sitting there in 60-degree weather. It'll probably feel like 40 or 50 to me, but you'll be like, oh, it feels good out here. Well, I was a cold weather injury, so my body reacts different to cold weather. This weekend, I did a shooting competition match, and it was about 40 degrees, and it was wet. And I literally lost the feeling in my left hand. I'm right-handed, but I lost the feeling in my left hand. So I'm pretty much going through the motions of doing stuff. Even when I went to go load my magazine, I thought my magazine was loaded to capacity, using the uploader and everything, but I couldn't feel my hand. I didn't have the strength. So I thought my magazine was full with only 4 rounds in it, so, in that case, yes, it's going to affect me differently because I'm outside the whole time and everything, like that.
I've been around you in times that I've literally seen your teeth chatter because you've been so cold in Oklahoma. When you are in a place, especially when maybe you're on the gun show loophole tour, and do you change how you carry, or are you going to carry the same gun regardless if it's hot or cold?
No, I probably would go to outside the waistband because pocket carrying stuff gets tougher with all layers and everything.
Yep.
You're sitting down and got gloves on, that kind of thing, right?
Right. Yep. That's kind of where I was going to go. Is I don't like going outside the waist very often. I like going inside the waist for some reason. I like how it feels, but I usually go inside the waist. But during the wintertime, what it does give me a chance to do is to carry guns that I would probably carry. I don't get to carry my Glock 19 a whole lot during the summertime because it doesn't feel right for me. I'm a smaller guy. That the Glock 19 might be a little bit bulky for me to carry inside the waist. During the wintertime, I will carry it quite a bit because I can put a fleece on or a vest or a jacket and it will be okay. Now, that being said, is I will carry it open on Every Second Matters. And someone was talking about the conversation or just being out in the open. I think maybe Clover. I will carry my Glock 19 because I have a Kydex holster that has a big United States Marine Corps logo on it. And it's interesting about that because I get more people asking me about the holster and don't even realize what's in it. They don't even mention the gun or get freaked out with the gun. They say, oh, that's a really cool holster. Where'd you get that? Or, hey, thanks for your service or whatever. The holster itself seems to be a really cool conversational piece when I'm trying to make the gun the conversational piece, but it seems like the holster. So maybe I need to go get a boring holster and not have to worry about the conversation about the Marine Corps. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But for me, the mindset, and we'll kind of get into this as well as if you guys want to, but the mindset during the wintertime for me is this. People are going to be wearing more clothing. It's easier to hide guns if you're a criminal when you're wearing a lot of extra clothing. So maybe this is the conspiracy theorist in me, which I'm not really, but it could be, saying that also, when you start getting close to Christmas time, crime seems to go up in theft and robberies. People need money to go buy gifts. People need money to pay their heating bill, whatever it is. They also have multiple layers on where it's easier to hide guns than in shorts and a t-shirt. So there are chances are that you're going to be out somewhere that the probability of someone evil out there committing a crime with a firearm is probably enhanced a little bit. So you need to be extra aware, as if you're not already aware, be extra aware of the surroundings because there's always going to be someone out there that is going to look to do something evil. For someone like us who are, public defenders, if you want to call us that, it's extremely important to make sure that if you choose to carry, especially this time of year, be extra careful, be extra aware, do more scans. I'm always scanning. I'm always kind of looking. Maybe it's subconscious, but I'm always kind of trying to figure out who's where and do I see anyone out there? Maybe I'm paranoid. I don't know, but I do that all the time. But for me, being extra aware because I was in Walmart today and I saw a guy that was wearing one of those it looked like the Michelin Man jackets. As far as he could have had an AR inside that and you wouldn't be able to see it because it was that big of a jacket. So just be extra aware. The mindset of if you're going to choose to defend the public, because that's what we do. We defend people that can't or choose not to defend themselves. So if we're going to take that seriously, understand that be a little heightened on your awareness right now because the next few weeks are going to be some interesting times. As far as carrying different guns, I typically will carry 2 or 3 guns year round. I like to keep a small little rotation, but like I said, I will carry maybe some of the full size guns. Now, when I call full size, you guys are gonna laugh because I only shoot 9mm. I'll take my 9mm against your 45, and we'll have a good shootout one time. But I carry 9mm. I know my little girly mans carry 9mm, but that's okay. But I'll carry a full size 9mm sometimes if that helps. But I'll carry that during the wintertime because it gives me a chance to carry guns that I couldn't carry normally during the summertime because I really couldn't conceal them very well. So I will carry. I look forward to the wintertime that I can carry some guns that I usually don't get to carry throughout the summer. Anybody else have anything that you want to talk about the mindset or talking about being extra prepared or aware? Because there are a lot of people out there that are committing different crimes this time of year.
Well, one thing I do want to add is I want to kind of contradict your point that we're taking on guardianship of the public. When I put a gun on, I take guardianship of only myself and my family, no one else. It's your business to protect yourself. Sure. I mean, if I can safely take out an attacker or someone who's doing something bad or someone who's about to harm children, I'll do everything I can. But as far as I'm concerned, I just don't have a lot of sympathy for most adults who wander around their life like sheep. So unless you're a child or you're elderly or you're my family, I'm not your protector. So don't look to me.
Well, but let's say you're in a mall or something, a restaurant, something horrible happens, and there's this guy doing horrible stuff. And then you're not in danger. Let's say he's heading over there, but you can do something about it. I mean, that's where we're talking, right? An obligation potentially.
Absolutely.
Not
I mean, if I have a chance to prevent a mass murder, because that's what it is, it's a murder, prevent a mass murder, I'm going to take that chance, you know.
But here's the thing: if you're standing at the back of a store, a person runs in the front of the store with an AR, and you and your family are standing right next to the back door. Do you charge to the front of the store and confront him, or do you get your family out the back door?
I get my family out the back door, and then I assess the situation and see if it's something that I should or should not get away with or get involved in.
Because I'm not obligated to protect others.
Yeah, I'm getting my family to safety, but then I'll decide if I want to get involved in that or not. You know,
if there's 6 off-duty Marines out front and he's got to walk past them to get back to the public, that's one thing. But if this guy is about to steal a car and he just did some horrible stuff in front of us, you're a witness of it, he's about to jump in a car, I think I'm more with like a Ghost is saying, you get your family safe, and then you don't get to just say goodbye, watch that guy do his thing.
Well, so I think you do get to, whether you choose to or not, it's another thing. But
I'll take that's a valid point. You can choose to. Correct.
If you were able to and you watched a guy, I'm talking perfect situation. If we're just talking the morals of it, I think that's the situation we're talking about. Not like you're saying, Yankee, where like you're going to let your kids get in danger because you perceive some hero or something.
Yeah. Because I'm not out to play hero. And here's also another thing I always take into account. Say I'm staying outside of a restaurant. I hear gunshots inside the restaurant. I hear someone yell, he killed them. He killed them. And then someone runs out and jumps in a running car in front of the store. I'm not going to shoot them because how do I know I don't know they're the one that did the shooting. They could be some guy making a run for it who was picking up his lunch for all I know. So,
or somebody fleeing. Yeah, nobody wants to be around that kind of situation.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking. We see something literally happen in front of us, and then
you actually witnessed it. Yeah, exactly.
Direction and start walking towards somebody else. That's where you feel like, oh.
And you have to keep in mind also is just because someone walks into a gas station with a gun doesn't necessarily mean that you should take action at that point, because if it can be solved with, we don't know we don't have to assume that it's loaded or not. That doesn't mean anything to me. But if we go in and we just think that he's using the gun to make sure that he gets $20 out of the cash register, that's one thing. But to me, if I determine that I believe that that person's there to actually use that gun and not use it as a prop, then maybe I'm wired differently. I don't know. I feel an obligation if I have the ability to stop him from harming anybody, whether it's my family or not. I feel that obligation to try to do something. Now, sometimes it may not be taking a shot. And that's okay. That's okay.
I think it's that you might feel a need to do something, but I will not ever agree with it being called an obligation, because then people on the left will start using it against us that, hey, there was an armed guy in there and he didn't do anything, so we're going to put him in prison for not living up to his obligations while he's carrying a gun.
Well, there are two different sides. What's that? Go ahead, G.
Self-obligation. But haven't we learned anything from all the Spider-Man movies? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Peter Parker teaches us everything.
Yeah, but my gun doesn't come with great power because it's only a 45 and it's only got 9 shots.
Well, apparently, according to G study, my gun is a 9mm. Even though I can carry 15 of them, it doesn't come with great power. So
It's legal. You're allowed to legally carry that one.
Yeah, but when you hold like an LCP, it looks like you're carrying a full size gun.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: I have been blessed with non-large hands. So, as you point out, that's fine. It's all good. I'm not a large man, but I know what guns are. That's my Forrest Gump there. But no, it's one of those things where the obligation is not by law. I think it's a moral obligation. And like G said, it's a self-obligation. And not everyone's like that. Not everyone who decides to carry every day takes that obligation or chooses that. Everyone has their own reasons for how they want to do it. If if you just want to protect yourself and your family, I got no problem with that. I choose to, well, I should say, I hope that I would choose the moral side of if I can help somebody in need, because I take that very seriously. Is I'm not just there for me or my family. I'm there to help anyone that can't protect themselves. And whether they choose that or they physically can't or whatever. And I get your point, Yankee. That's their choice. But I sure as hell am not going to sit there and let them die, because here's the reason why. What if I do step in and I help save that life? Is there a possibility that I turn that person into guns because he said, wow, that guy's a gun guy, he saved my life, so maybe the gun's not evil. Maybe that's an opportunity to change some minds. I hope we never had to worry about that,
Yeah, but see, we can't foresee what's going to happen, and we don't know how we're going to react totally when it happens.
You're right.
Very few of us have ever been under fire. I know I didn't act like what I thought I would. So we're just as likely to maybe do the wrong thing and end up in trouble, because that happens quite often, or get shot ourselves. So we have to make a lot of decisions when we decide to intervene on something. Do we have the whole story? Do we know what's going on? Do we know what the outcome is going to be? And like I say, one of the reasons I don't like calling it an obligation is, one, for legal reasons, and two, I don't like telling other people I'm going to protect you. Because I can't guarantee I'm going to protect you. And two, I think it leads to what these people have, where they also think, like, I don't have to have a gun, the police will protect me. If they think that, there's people out there with guns that will protect me if I ever need it, they're less likely to protect themselves. I would much rather more people take responsibility for their own protection and not look to me or anyone else carrying a gun for their protection.
Yeah. I got a couple of super chats I want to throw out there. HBO Matt said, somebody get Clover a spit filter for his mic. Also, any real thought of getting federal politicians to restore gun rights is fantasy, and it will not happen. I tend to agree with the sentiment of restoring any gun rights, but I think that it's a great time in history right now. I don't care that the House of Representatives could be going to the Democratic Party. I do care that we have a president that is by title Republican. If you want to call him a rhino, that's exactly what that means. But if you want to say that he is a Republican in office, we have a Republican Senate. And people don't realize during the midterm election, when we gained a couple seats, when I say we, the Republican Party gained a couple seats in the Senate. And why is that so important? Because if we have a chance to, like, Ginsburg might be retiring here pretty soon, we have a chance to put another conservative leaning person in the Supreme Court. Who confirms that? The Senate does. Okay. So if you've got the Senate on the Republican side, and we have, and I'm not going to say that the Supreme Court is pro-gun. What I will say is their tendencies of interpretation tend to be more conservative, that could help us in a pro-gun legislation. Why are we not ramping it up right now and saying, let's repeal this, let's repeal that, let's go and change some laws that would help us out? We've got the Supreme Court now that seemingly could help us out. So that's, I don't think it's a fantasy. I think that if we put our minds to it and we put our money behind our mouths with other organizations, and for some reason we could get the Second Amendment Foundation, the GOA, the NRA, and all these other ones together on board, which may be a fantasy in that one, but there's a chance we could really do some really good here. But saying that it's a fantasy that's never going to happen, that's the wrong attitude in my eyes. I think we should really go for it. Anybody have any thing to say about it being a fantasy of getting some, repeal some of the old gun control laws? No,
I think we got to look at when you're talking about the courts. I think one thing we got to look at too is the lower courts. That
those
often
are
gets-
appointed
that
as
often
well.
gets overlooked, and we think SCOTUS all the time, and
Circuit
we
courts.
got to be looking at those lower courts, and the Senate does that as well.
That's correct. That's correct. He also sent another $5. So I want to say thank you. As you guys know, that all super chats go towards veteran-funded organizations. This month is Toys for Tots for the Marines. So all super chats this month are going to Toys for Tots. So thank you so much, Matt, for that. He also says if we advocate for limited government, then we take the slack for community safety. In general, the one among us willing to shoot to protect need to do so. And I think that once again, we're talking about a personal preference. Me personally, I take the responsibility of carrying every day very, very, very seriously. And my attitude towards that is if I can help anybody that's in harm's way and that situation calls for deadly force and I have the ability to save a life, then I don't care whose life it is. I will try to do to the best of my ability to do that. Now, if you choose not to do that, that doesn't bother me. That's just how you choose to do that. So I don't sit there and say that everyone has to do that because I don't think that. I think every person is their own, just like every person doesn't choose to carry every day. Or there's a lot of people that don't choose to carry with a round in the chamber. That's a personal preference. I don't agree with all of those, but that's a personal preference. So I don't
I just
think
want
that,
to go on record as saying that anybody that gets in trouble when you're around is probably still screwed. Because if you're in a public place and there's anything like, a standard height counter or anything between you
I'm
and
done.
them,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
not
done.
even going to see what's going on. So it's not going to matter.
Well, and Clover and I, it's fun if you're ever around Clover and I when we're getting out of vehicles, we both have to rappel out of the truck. So, we have a lot more fun getting out of the cars than most. We have a rock climbing wall to get into the car, and then we get to rappel out of it. So we have a really good time. I'm just saying, don't knock the short people here. It's
Well,
all
everyone
it's a
thinks
lot
I'm
more
one
fun.
of you. Everyone thinks I'm one of you.
Everyone thinks
guys.
you are, but you're not. And that's the thing. You're what, 6'1" probably?
Yeah, around that. A little
Yeah,
under.
I mean,
because
right up
you
on
surprised me. You surprised me the first time I met you. I was like, damn, he's bigger than I thought he is, I don't know. What are you gonna say, G?
I was just gonna tell Yankee, they jump right up on a chair before you even know it. They're right up on there.
We wear
Right
stilts.
on,
We that's why we always were wearing long pants. We wear stilts so people, we're actually, I actually come from the land of Oz. So
I was gonna
me
say, it's
being
Lollipop
5'8"
Guild.
is
I'm
what's that?
surprised this isn't called Lollipop Guild Tactical.
Shh. That's my B channel. That's my B channel. Primo targets out there. Holy cow, $20. Thank you, Primo. That's going towards some kiddos getting some presents for Christmas. Always love to support Toys for Tots. Good job, guys. Thanks, Primo.
Since you're promoting Toys for Tots,
I am.
I just want to let everybody know I'm doing toy guns for tots
Yes,
over
you
on
are.
my website. So if you go to tympistolproject.com or you come to one of my live chats and do a super chat, so far we're over $500 to be able to buy Nerf guns, etc., for kids for Christmas, because every year, especially in the foster care system, there's a lot of young boys and kids that ask for airsoft guns or Nerf guns, and they don't get them because most of the people that are involved in the giving program don't want to buy toy guns. So I'm going out and just buying a shitload of Nerf guns and some airsoft guns and turning them in for the gift tree so that they can actually fulfill some of those wishes for people who want Nerf guns, etc. And I have been guaranteed that if they're there, they'll give them to those kids. Because when you go to get those trees and you get this person and you think, I'm buying this girl this, you're not really. All those gifts go into a pool and then they go through the request and try to fill the request from the pool. So the Nerf guns being in the pool means they will go to the kids who've asked for Nerf guns.
That's great. Is there an organization that's actually doing that? Or, I mean,
well, it's run through a couple of different local organizations. It's through KGW and one of our big tire centers around here, and our local foster care Department of Health and Human Resources department.
Cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. Speaking of cool Christmas gifts and giving something to someone, Clover and I are, what's that?
Well, that's my video tomorrow. Top 10 gifts for gun guys that aren't guns.
There you go. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but real quick before we jump to that, Clover and I are having our Christmas sweepstakes, and it ends Friday. And basically, I want to put the link out here in the chat. You follow this link,
I already beat you to it.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. Clover, magical guys over here. You know, he reads my mind. But so you've got 2 chances at this, a link. So if you can't find the link, then it's your own damn fault. But we're doing a sweepstakes that it gives you a chance to win a Charles Daly. I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's the Field Model 20 gauge semi-automatic shotgun. We've got an Allen shotgun shell holder for the buttstock. We've got a Beach and Tactical sling. We've got some Hunt-to-Go clean shot rounds. Am I missing something, Clover? I'm missing something. Oh, the swivels.
It's got the sling swivels. Yeah, the Uncle Mike sling swivels are on there. There's the Remora knife.
Oh, the knife. Yeah.
Maglite flashlight.
All of this is going to be free to someone.
Oh, and a 20 gauge bore snake, and then there may be some other stuff, but that's
and some other stuff. But we want to say thank you to a couple companies, obviously Hunt-to-Go, Full Mag Sports, and Beach and Tactical for helping out. And there's going to be some other stuff, but it includes a hard case. So we're going to give the gift of freedom, and it's going to end this Friday. We'll have a live show at 9:00 Central Friday night to give the live winner, and it's going to be mailed out Monday because they said if it has to be out by Monday to guarantee it's there by Christmas. So you will, if you win this, go to these links right here. You sign up with your email, and it's going to give you chances, should you choose to have up to 137 entries into this drawing.
And most people so far, I don't want to say that they're lazy, but
they are.
37 entries is the max.
Yep. Someone's missing out on 100 different ways to get entries.
100 additional entries. That could really boost your odds if you take the time to do it.
You'd want at least 42.
At least 42. At least 42. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't say 45, just because. Some people just want to get 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or 40.
The odds are there.
The odds are there. So anyways, go check out. It's on Instagram. We've got it on Facebook, on Twitter, on GunStreamer. We've got it all over the place. Go check it out if you're interested in a really cool Christmas. Then there's a chance that you could receive a shotgun and a bunch of accessories and a bunch of really cool gifts. And the live drawing will happen Friday night. We're pretty excited about that. Not all of us can give 6 guns away a month like Yankee, but no, we're very
sometimes 7.
Sometimes 7. Thanks for reminding me. Appreciate that. Yeah. I will say this about that. I've been a big fan of the Yankee Marshall pistol project, but I will say this: when you decided to do one for veterans, that was pretty awesome. So
that's our extra one. That's what pushed us up to 7 on some months now. That we're doing the veterans,
and I love that. So
we are now running out of M&P 9s though, so I don't know what the next gun's going to be, because I ordered a shit ton of the M&P 9s at first, because if you ordered like so many, like for every 10 you bought, you got like 2 free from the manufacturer. So that's how I lowered the price of each gun that I buy. So we're almost out of them now though. So because originally we did the Walther CCPs, so they got a great deal on those, and then we did the Ruger LCRs, and now we've been doing the M&Ps. So I don't know what the next gun is going to be.
Well, I can tell you one thing that you did a video, a couple of videos not too long ago about the biggest, kind of bust for guns in 2018, and the number 3 gun that you actually a very big fan of was this. This is now my carry gun. It's the Walther's PPQ subcompact. I love this. This would be a really good gun because you can carry. I'm carrying the 15 round mag, obviously, but some people like the 10. But these are not. I know you said you did the CCP. But these guns right here are phenomenal guns, and I know that you like it. I have one, and I'm very happy with it. So, but no,
they would be the top subcompact gun because the PPQs are probably the best polymer gun,
and it triggers unreal, unreal, unreal out of the box.
See, but one thing when I choose a gun though for the pistol project, now when I'm doing the veterans gun and the friend gun every month, those people get to pretty much choose what gun they want, but it's the project gun, the people that are chosen as a beneficiary, that is just a specific gun. And I always have to take into account that probably at least half of the winners are female. So I got to choose a gun that's good for men and women.
Now, do you make the decision, or do you have a group of people that recommend or make that
No,
decision for you?
I never know up until the time that they win, even
Right.
who's been nominated or who's even in the running, because it's all done through the TYMP Pistol Project website, which is tympistolproject.com. All of that goes to this tiny, another one of your people, you know, the little elfin people, Vincenzo Lombardo, who is one of the guys who comes into a lot of my chats, and he runs this whole program for me. He collects the entries, both for the nominations for veterans and the people applying to be a beneficiary of the project. He collects all those. He gives those out to a panel of, I think it's like 9 people. And then they all vote, and he tallies up the results, and they tell me in the live chat, and then I tell other people. I like to stay as much out of it as possible. The only one I actually choose is the friend every month, and I'm looking at some way to not have to do that anymore. But as far as the beneficiaries every week, I have nothing to do with that.
Right. There was a question out there by a Difo out there, says PPQ over the shield. And for a lot of people know that I've carried the shield for years now, and I love the shield. I still think that shield is probably the greatest concealed carry gun ever designed for a lot of different reasons. Seven Wonder says for toy guns for toys for tots. Thanks, Ghost. Appreciate you, $10. That's going to go to a great cause. So thank you very much. But yeah, I've always enjoyed carrying the shield. I love the shield. I think the shield is a phenomenal concealed carry gun, especially if you like to carry inside the waist. It's a very versatile gun. Yes, it's a 9mm, but it's still a great gun. And for a long time, that was my go-to gun. And I'm not saying that I'll never go back to the shield. What I am saying right now is I've got this Walther PPQ that has a 15-round capacity, and it's a great gun. And if you've never shot a Walther's trigger, this is my first Walther, so that my experience is limited except for some PPKs, you know, back in the day. But I cannot say enough good things about this trigger. And I know that Clover's got one and Mike's got one. The Walther trigger is as good out of the box as anything I've ever shot. So right now, I'm extremely happy with the Walther. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to go back to the shield, but right now I'm really enjoying this gun. Speaking of
Glocks, and then put $300 into them to make them shoot anywhere near as good as the PPQ.
Right. And I do like Glocks. I've got several Glocks, but I don't carry a Glock. You know, I don't. You know, so it is what it is. Real quick before we get out of here, we're going to run through the room and talk about Christmas wish list, and we'll start with Mike. If there was something that you have on your wish list, if someone out there wants to get you a Christmas gift, what would that be?
Right now, I would honestly say I'm going to go with the Canic Elite Combat.
The Canic Elite Combat. I feel you on that one. I know there's a lot of people out there hating on Canic because don't support the terrorists. Shut up. I'm interested in the Canic as well. So yeah, the Canic Elite Combat. Canic Elite Combat. Interesting. You gonna run an RMR on that, or I think it comes with one, doesn't it? But I know you don't usually run a dot or an RMR.
No, I normally don't. But if it comes with one, I'm pretty sure you could take it off and put sights on it or something like that. But
I'm sure you could, yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to go ahead and run it and see what all the hype is about, because from what I've seen, I was impressed.
All right, so that actually surprises me. I didn't think that would be brought up, but the Canic Elite Combat, fantastic. All right, G-Webs. Is there something on the Christmas wish list that kind of dream gun that if someone's going to buy for you, what would it be?
Gun? No, I don't have all the guns.
I know you don't like guns, but you know.
Nope, not drilling over anything really.
Nothing? Okay. All right. Yankee, what about you? I know you probably got some dream guns out there.
Well, there's not really any guns I need. You know what I mean?
Well, neat, not really. It's a relative word here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not drooling over anything in particular right now, because you know I've got most everything I need. So I'm trying to spend most of my time and my money finding, you know, getting stuff for other people.
Right.
But,
Okay. So what would you give somebody maybe?
Well, I'm not going to, I don't know, but if I did want something,
Mhm.
gun wise, it would definitely probably maybe be, probably be
Definitely,
the Ed Brown, the new Evo they have, the 9mm 1911. It's bobtail, recessed crown barrel, full length guide rod, just a beautiful gun. That would probably be what I would get. Either that, or I'm also eyeing a short barreled Ruger Vaquero. Like one of
Okay.
the ones with the 3 3/4 inch barrels,
Mhm.
something like that. I would like to have that. But tomorrow's video, the video I'm doing tomorrow, is actually what I think are the 10 best gifts this year for gun guys that actually aren't guns.
Okay, well, cool. That'd be interesting. Now, let me ask you a question real quick because I think number one maybe on that list was the Hudson was the H9.
Yeah.
Do you own one?
No.
No. Okay.
There were too many growing pains issues with them that I told them they could have avoided by waiting another year to go to market, but
Yeah.
they didn't want to. And I understand because you got so much money into something, you want to start making your back on your investment as soon as possible, but sometimes that's not worth it.
That's true. That is very true. I still to this very day say that the premise behind the Sky, the subcompact with different colors to try to go after the demographic of women, I think the idea was beautiful. I think that it was exactly what the industry probably needed. If they just would have waited 6 months to a year to actually put out a quality gun, there's no telling what Sky could be right now in the gun industry, because I think that you start seeing a lot of manufacturers going after Tiffany blues and the pinks now. But I think if Sky would have waited 6 months to a year and really got an actual good firearm out in the market, Sky could have done some serious damage. So maybe the Hudson was the same way, as maybe it was just a year too early. Clover, what about you? What's the Christmas wish list look like?
I usually am not very good at playing this game because I could care less.
You don't like playing reindeer games?
No,
Is it offend you because you're a leprechaun?
I'm more about buying for other people. I could care less.
How about some of those Tom Cruise lift shoes?
At least he's attacking you now and not me.
I don't mind owning the short. I'm okay with that. It's all good. The short life. But since I have to play the game, I am extremely intrigued with the new what is it? The CZ527 Varmint MTR.
Okay.
That is a sweet looking rifle. So yeah, I've definitely been looking at that lately.
Yeah. I haven't seen. I'm looking that up. I haven't seen that. CZ.
Yeah, it's the heavy barrel target stock. It's pretty sweet. Make sure you put in the MTR, which is the match target rifle.
MTR. Holy shit snacks. Who's texting you?
My youngest son.
Holy shit snacks. I like that. That's a pretty sweet looking thing right there, Clover. I can see why that would be something that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting.
Do it in good old 223, maybe run a reamer into it, make it 5.56.
Right. Interesting. Huh. Okie dokie. Yeah, if anyone's looking to get me something, speaking of CZ, I will throw my little CZ plug out there. I don't own a CZ, but if you're going to look at one, how about looking at a 550 Magnum chambered in 338 Lapua? Nice price tag of about $2,700. So, yeah, if you're looking to get me a Christmas gift, I would take the CZ 550 Magnum chambered in 338 Lapua. I would not turn that down in a stocking stuffer. Just saying. So, well, guys, I want to say thank you. We're going to start kind of sweeping the floor and turn the lights off. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. Go check out Hit or Miss. Before we do, we're going to run through the room real quick and let you plug what you got to plug. Let's start with Clover this time. Plug away, my friend.
Check out clovertech.com. I've got some SHOT Show inspired stickers that'll drop there before too long. That's gonna hopefully help offset the cost of that just a little bit. Other than that, the Firearm Friday produced version's been going over very well this week. Friday, the interview with Hunt-A-Go, who is actually sponsored there with the sweepstakes Christmas sweepstakes giveaway. Had a conversation with them. The shoot through bore technology is interesting. The process that they went through and creating it, and the patents and the design and the testing, and we talk about all of that. It's a very cool conversation. So yeah, check that out, and yeah, get over to GunChannels. Of course, that's where most of us kind of hang out and do our thing over there. Great community, and check out everybody on the panel. So for Yankee, he doesn't need it.
He doesn't need any help. Yeah.
Everybody else, yeah, check them out.
Yankee, do you have anything to rebut against that?
Go ahead. I'm just going to make another comment about his height and move on.
All right. Well, how about plug in your video tomorrow or the pistol project? Do you have anything you want to plug at all?
Just the pistol project, TYMP pistol project. If anyone out there doesn't know what it is, it's I use the money from my Patreon to provide firearms to people who would love to be able to exercise their Second Amendment rights, but for some reason or another can't afford to. It's basically like a food bank for people, but for the Second Amendment. So we choose a winner each week to receive a free firearm, legally free and clear. And once a month, we choose a friend of the channel, but from someone who donates, and they get a free gun every month. And every month we allow people to nominate veterans, and we choose one veteran per month to receive a free firearm as a thank you for their service. So we give away between 6 and 7 guns a month right now, depending on how many weeks turn into that, end up in that, how many Sundays end up in that month. But going strong right now. So hopefully it'll keep going strong, because I would love to get it to where I could do 2 guns a week.
I would love to be able to just give one away, and we've been fortunate enough to Clover and I have been do this shotgun, but for
it's
everything,
not me giving it away. It's my viewers. Pretty
I
much.
know it is, but the fact that you're willing to part with that money, because we're talking, I mean, that's a lot of, that's thousands of dollars a month that you are taking from
$4,000 a month with shipping and everything. It's about
$4,000. So guys are out there that will sit there and stay with you once you about Yankee, and there's, God knows there's a lot to be said about you. But I will say this, the pistol project and all of them, all the pistol projects and all that, you are spreading freedom every week across America. And I think that is amazing. So thank you for doing that. And I have nothing to say about that. I mean, you can say what you want to about Yankee, but you have to respect the fact that he is spreading freedom throughout America. So thanks for coming on tonight. G, what you got?
I just love that you are at the perfect height to kiss ass. You're really good at it.
It's natural to me. It's natural to you. It's one of those things where
you're down there, you might as well pucker up.
You might as well have fun. I mean, you might as well do something while we're down here. And sometimes having fun is, it's what we do. We come from the land of the. Never mind. Let's get away from that. G, what about you? I know you got Daily Gun Show every night at midnight, but what else you got going on? You had a show today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in there. Tried to do the 2.
Sorry, I had to leave. My wife had to get back from the doctor. I had to talk to her, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on there.
Yeah, no worries. Try to get together with anybody who wants to chat about their 2A projects. Try to encourage people to add your voice to the mix. And we do that on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Do you have anything coming up? Any projects coming up, or are you kind of just getting ready for shot, or what's going on with the 2A Summit? You want to talk about that a little bit?
I don't know if the 2A Summit's going anywhere. We'll continue to try to do that. You got your guys' thing on Friday. We're going to do something on Friday. You guys reminded me. Yours is Friday, right? Not Saturday, or is it
Friday at 9 Central? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So ours will be a little bit after that with the Daily Gun Show. We'll do something for Free Patch Friday. You guys reminded me that that's the last day for Christmas to ship, I guess.
Yeah.
So the 15th, so Saturday will be the last day to ship. So we'll just do something for that too.
Okay. All right. Well, go check out, guys. Go check out the Daily Gun Show. It's at midnight Eastern on the Daily Gun Show on YouTube and on GunChannels. Just look up Daily Gun Show. It's a great way to kind of end your day, talk firearms, talk different things, talk gun stuff to kind of wind out the day. It's a great way to do that. So check out that out. Mike, I know you're busy, bro. What you got going on?
Too much.
I hear you.
Yeah, but right now I want to tell everybody, please go to www.m-wtactical.com, the one-stop shop where you can check out everything I'm a part of from Facebook and Instagram pages, which you can find under M-W Tactical. Even a link where you can catch up on the Black Men with the Gun podcast with Ken Blanchard and myself. The M-W Tactical channel, where we do product reviews that we put out every Tuesday, like today, on GunStreamer, YouTube, UGEtube, and GunTube. You can even click on the link and donate to the GoFundMe campaign that we still have going on. But click on the link to become a Patreon.
I did.
Were you timing that?
I wasn't timing it, but I've kind of got an internal clock going on. That was good. That was good. You've cut your time in half at least.
Hey man, I'm telling you, man, I'm striving to become NASCAR official.
Practice that in the mirror. I'm just saying.
Nah.
Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No.
All right.
You don't answer yourself, good.
Well, guys, I want to plug a couple things. Our last Armed Citizen just came out last Sunday. We're gonna have our next one will be the podcast will come out the Sunday after Christmas. So that'll come out then. We were happy to announce Mike and I have teamed up to do the drill a month. I started the drill a month a little over a year ago. It's been awesome to see all of you guys getting out there and shooting and doing these drills. This month is called Casino Royale. Please go check that out. Get out there, shoot, be proficient, take someone with you, introduce them to a safe and positive experience with maybe their first time with a firearm in their hands. And you never know what's going to happen. We need to bring more people to our side, and the best way to do it is to take them to the range. We all remember what it was like to pull a trigger for the very first time in our lives, and people that have never been around guns that may be on the fence need to experience that. So don't be afraid to go try to take someone to the range. Give them a safe environment, a positive and fun environment. You never know what's going to happen. While you're out there, turn your camera on, be part of the solution, be part of the fight. I want to announce a really cool partnership that we've got now for Drill of the Month. We've got Venture Gear Tactical has jumped on board to be the official eyes and ears of Drill of the Month. And they've also agreed to give away product to the winners, and probably going to be more iPro. Here is a sample of them. This right here, I wore these in training class over the weekend, but Venture Gear Tactical, they have jumped on board with Drill of the Month. And so we're looking forward to that. That will start in January of 2019. But we also are having Mike jump in on Drill of the Month now, to where it's not just shooting a drill. It's Mike doing some instructional series, a minute or two each video, to see the drill that we're working on and explain to you what the mechanical and the mental side of the reasoning behind that drill. So we're great to have Mike on there. We are also doing, Mike, we're working on a lot of stuff together. We've got Operation Training Day. That is a big project that we're going to get out there for 2019. And we're going to go train all over the country with the quote unquote big dogs and try to bring an honest and unbiased review of all of their training capabilities, because people out there might be interested in training and they just may not know who to go to, or they want to know is it worth it for the money and all of that. So we are going to do that. We've already got several people that have committed to having us. We've got they've been committed because they've agreed to have us too, but that's a whole different story. But Jaeger obviously is going to have us come. We've both been to Jaeger. We're going to go back there. But we've had Rob Pincus has agreed to have us come out there. And you got an email today. You want to discuss that one?
Yes. Went ahead and I wrote Bill Rogers out of so it's Bill Rogers Shooting School, and he actually confirmed that next year we will be doing a mission for Operation Training Day at Bill Rogers Shooting School.
So excited about that. So people are jumping on board. I've got several other companies that have contacted me. We just got to work out the logistics and the time frame and the dates and all of that. But we're really excited. We're going to try to hope to get to 10 or 12 training classes throughout the next year, and really just try to bring that to you guys and let you experience what that is. And Frank says, did Jaeger sign the glasses? Hell no. I wouldn't want Jaeger to sign my glasses. No, I'm just kidding. No, James is a cool cat. In person, he's a lot different than I thought. He's still probably not going to watch a lot of his YouTube stuff, but I'll go train with that son of a bitch anytime. He is the real deal when it comes to instruction, and all of his instructors were world-class and very professional. So I'll go back and train with Jaeger anytime. Doesn't mean I have to watch his YouTube stuff, but maybe, you never know. But no, anyways, guys, I want to say thank you for watching. I hope everybody has a safe weekend. Please get out there and shoot. Once again, if you don't shoot the drill a month, that's fine, but get out there and shoot. Be more proficient with your firearm, and we shall see you next Tuesday. Actually, we'll see you Friday night at 9 Central. Get out there, get entered for the sweepstakes. Go to clovertac.com or ghosttacticalproductions.com. The links are right there. You can go to our Facebook, our Instagram. It's everywhere. Go check it out. get signed up, and have a chance to have a really cool Christmas on us. So get over there. We'll see you Friday night at 9 Central for Tactical Tuesday. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7 Central. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Semper Fi.